guilty, but some of whom were innocent. Half of my clients were poor and could not afford to pay legal fees, so I represented them pro bono. These included many women, some of whom were victims of sexual, physical, and psychological assaults. Some of my female clients are well known, like Mia Farrow, Patricia Hearst, Leona Helmsley, Sandy Murphy, Silva Zalmanson, and Miriam Rajavi. Some are not, like the woman whose husband locked her up in a mental hospital, the wife who killed her abusive husband, the Harvard student who was sexually harassed by a professor, and the mother who was denied custody of her 8-year-old daughter because she had left her husband for another woman. Other clients included death row inmates and victims of the human rights abuses. I have also represented filmmakers, actors, writers, and publishers whose controversial works were censored. Although some of my clients had been falsely accused of serious crimes, including murder, they all had pre-existing relationships with the alleged victims. Moreover, the evidence was often ambiguous. There were gray areas and doubts that had to be resolved under the law in their favor. I had never had a black and white case in which the accused had not even met the accuser. So despite my long experience in representing both the innocent and the guilty, I had never been involved in a case like this one. In all other Me Too cases, the accused and the accuser had known each other. They had been intimate, they had worked together, the issues were consent or harassment, which were often gray areas. Mine was the first in which there was no evidence that the accused and the accuser had even met. It was a zero-sum game, but it wasn't a game. Either I was absolutely guilty of a heinous crime, or my accuser was absolutely guilty of perjury for making up an entirely false story. There was no middle ground. I had taught about totally innocent accusations involving crimes ranging from espionage to murder: Alfred Dreyfus, Menachem Mendel Baylis, Leo Frank, the Scottsboro Boys, and others. I had felt vicariously what it must be like to be subject to a Kafkaesque labyrinth of lies, but I had never personally experienced it, nor did I ever expect to, despite the controversial nature of my public persona and career. In addition to representing controversial and unpopular clients, I had written hundreds of provocative articles and dozens of controversial books about hot-button issues such as terrorism, torture, affirmative action, preventive detention, Israel, Iran, and sexual assault. Of my 40 or so books, 8 had been bestsellers, including the New York Times #1 bestseller, Chutzpah. I had taught thousands of students and lectured and appeared on TV before millions of audience members and viewers. My public image was confrontational and adversarial. As the Boston Globe once put it, quote, "If Dershowitz isn't getting in your face about something, it's as if he's not doing his job," end quote. Very few people were neutral about me. I had fans and detractors. People either loved or hated my provocative views and the ways in which I expressed them. Professionally, I was among the most controversial professors and lawyers in America, and I relished that status. I enjoyed being at the center of controversy for my ideas, my principles, and my legal activities. I was at the apex of my career, being honored for my life's work by awards, honorary doctorates, and efforts to create a professorial chair in my name at Harvard. Presidents Clinton and Obama wrote letters of praise when I retired from Harvard when I turned 75. Obama wished me, quote, "many more years of advocacy, mischief, and great fun." The reference to mischief was about my iconoclastic and controversial political views. But there was nothing controversial or mischievous about my private life, and certainly none about any sexual activities. At the time of the accusation against me, I had been married to my wonderful wife, Carolyn, for nearly 30 years. My first marriage had ended in divorce, and I raised my 2 sons. I met Carolyn 7 years after the divorce. We have a great marriage and a wonderful daughter. I am a very different person in my private life than in my professional life. With family and friends, I avoid conflict. Family members consider me a pushover. I rarely argue, and when I do, I almost never win. I do enough arguing in court and on TV. When I come home, I want peace and quiet rather than conflict. The same is true among my close friends, who don't recognize what my son Elon calls the Dersh TV character. I once complained to the late actor Ron Silver, who played me in the film Reversal of Fortune, that he had done a great job portraying me as a lawyer, but he had not captured